when you start talking about the statistics of how many kids say they've been bullied or have bullied themselves, I often wonder what that data means, because we didn't poll kids on bullying before, you know. So when Phoebe Prince committed suicide, that was the big catalyst to enacting the bullying legislation in Massachusetts. And now we're acutely aware of it, and we track it more, and we're worried about the numbers that we see in terms of people reporting how they've been bullied. But I'm not, I mean, I don't have a degree in sociology, so I'm not sure it's any worse than it's ever been. If you look through history, there's all kinds of evidence that bullying goes on in society, whether it's in schools, whether it's in business, or other places. And so I'm not sure that it's any worse. It could be. I'm not sure it's any worse than it's ever been. I just think we're more acutely aware of it. And that piece is a good thing, that we're trying to teach more about it, teach people coping skills, teach people how to curb their behavior and be more resilient.
So you brought up something interesting, because some would say that bullying is simply something that's always happened in our society, and we all seem to have survived it, and it's just a way that we pass through our younger years into adulthood. And what would the response to that be?
Well, if you ask just me, and then other folks can weigh in, to me, some of that is absolutely true. I think the problem today that we're dealing with this generation is what Rick talked about, the texting, the social media. You know, kids can be a lot more bold today because they can sit behind a computer and draft an email, create a website. Mm-hmm. They can text on their phone, not recognizing the long-term consequences of creating that electronic footprint, which is a whole other issue. But I do think in some ways it's worse because it's heightened, because they have that protection around them when they reach out and engage in this behavior, when before we had to do it face to face. So you had to be pretty bold.
That's right.
But I also think that looking at it as a rite of passage or a harmless rite of passage would be the same as looking at road rage as a rite of passage for drivers, or date rape as a rite of passage, you know, for young women. I think that that would be a serious mistake. It's not a necessary rite of passage. It's an unfortunate event. It's a tragic event in some cases. And I think one of the things that's critical is that at the same time we separate bullying and conflict. Teaching how to manage conflict and therefore resilience is an important step of what we have to do in schools and as parents as well. But bullying is a separate category that creates an enormous amount of harm that lasts much longer than may be apparent to simply the ending of the event. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to kind of separate that out a little bit.
And there's a difference, Diane, between, you know, kids will be kids and teasing, and then intimidation, violence, and it's nothing more than abuse. Massachusetts has also enacted a new law at around the same time that the legislature passed the anti-bullying law, another law on harassment prevention. Mm-hmm. And so parents can actually, you know, go to the local juvenile court if their children have been harassed, and take out a harassment prevention order as well.
Well, you bring up something interesting that I'm wondering about. Are bullies, kids that are bullies, tomorrow's abusers? I mean, is there a link between kids who bully when they're young as to abusing their kids or their partners as they get older?
Could be, because again, bullying is a form of abuse. Bullies, in many instances, are victims themselves. So if we don't somehow stop the cycle, like we talk about with child abuse, they could then become, you know, abusers in later life, as you're saying. What I like about the Massachusetts statute is that the treatment and prevention and everything involves not only the victim, the target, but the aggressor as well. The parents of the bully get notified. And the school, you know, puts into place what can we do to now, you know, help the kid that's bullying as well, not just the bully.
Right.
And in answer to further to your question, if a lot of bullies do end up creating criminal activity later on, if there is no intervention. In the same way, if I drive down 93 at 100 miles an hour and I'm never stopped, I will continue to drive at a high speed. But all I need to do is be stopped once or twice, and then the message becomes, this is a very expensive behavior. I better knock it off.
That it's unacceptable, and I better stop.
Yeah.
This excerpt is brought to you by the Massachusetts School of Law, the leader of reform in legal education and a leader in multimedia education for the public. To view the full interview and for a full listing of MSL's programs, log on to mslaw.edu.